Hello everyone and welcome to my tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to use Sugar Florist paste from Squires kitchen. To be honest, I have been teaching and working on sugar craft wall since the last 10 years and I've tried a lot of different flower pastes. This is the best I ever used. So I will start kneading a little bit the paste. At the beginning you will see that it's a hard paste, but after a few seconds the paste starts being more flexible. It's very important that you knead it like this, doing that movement to activate all the gums. Here I have a little bit of shortening, a little bit of cornstarch, and I will need to add a tiny bit on the surface. Every time I have to work with the Florist paste, instead of adding cornstarch, I prefer to use shortening. And the reason is that the cornstarch dries the paste. So in that moment, we don't need the paste to be dried faster. We need to add some fat to preserve the paste from the air. I want to explain you now how to do a little rose. So once I have the paste in the right thickness, I'm going to use that multi-cutter to cut a few petals at the same time. Now I need to cut with an X-Acto knife the petals one by one. And now I'm going to use that blue foam to thin the edges. And to do it, I'm going to use this metallic ball tool. It's very, very important that when you're using the metallic ball tool, you put the half of the tool touching the foam and the half of the tool touching the sugar paste. So I have to repeat this with all the petals. Now that I have all the petals ready, I will use a rosebud. This is a flower paste rosebud. You have to do it the day before and wait that it dries. I do it exactly using the same paste I prepared yesterday, and now it's 100% dry. This is very important because if the flower paste is not dry, what will happen is that meanwhile you are working to create the rose, at the end, if it's very heavy, the center of the rose is going to break. So it's very important to do it in advance. So now I'm going to start gluing the petals onto the rosebud. And to do it, I'm going to use the edible glue. This is already made edible glue. It's really nice, the texture, it's fantastic, and it lasts for a long, long time. And first, you have to brush all the rosebud. So for the first two petals, it's not going to be necessary to add texture because it's just to cover the rosebud. I am placing the petal exactly in the center and 1 millimeter from the tip of the rosebud. And now I'm going to cover the rosebud with that first petal. Now I'm going to put the second petal facing the first one, and I'm going to add again a little bit of extra glue. It's important that the second petal opens a little bit. It has to be opened a little bit. If you close it too much, you will feel that you are adding more petals and more petals and more petals, but the rosebud is not getting bigger. It's because you need to create a little bit of space between the petals to start opening it. Here I have the rose veiner. To use it, first of all, I'm going to brush a tiny bit of cornstarch just to make sure that the paste is not going to stick onto the mold. And then I'm going to press to add that texture, and look how real it is. So now I'm going to brush a little bit of edible glue again in the center of each petal. And now I'm going to place the petal exactly facing the second one. But now, instead of doing 1 and 2, I'm going to do a layer of 3 petals. Let's add a little bit of extra glue in one side, just to make sure that the petal is sticked properly onto the rosebud. And now I'm taking a second one. It's very important to divide the space now in 3 equal parts. And now I need to place the third one. Perfect. I want to do another layer of 3 petals just to make the rose a little bit bigger than now. So in that case, I need to do 2 things. The first one is smoothing that area. Make sure that you have to remove all the excess here, okay? Perfect. And the second one is close the top of the flower. If you don't close the top of the flower now, in the next layer, it's going to be very difficult to fit the petals. So now I'm going to prepare another layer of 3 petals following exactly the same technique. So I have the last layer of 3 petals done, and now I'm going to start adding some glue on each petal to finish the rose. Once again, you have to brush the glue exactly in the center. Let's take the rose, and in between 2 petals I'm going to put the first of this last layer. And following the same method, I'm going to make sure that the petal is glued in one side but opened on the other side. Once again, make sure that you divide the space in the same proportion. Let's put the last one. Okay, so once the petals are glued and you are sure that the petals are not going to fall, it's time to start smoothing the bottom of the flower, as it's going to be seen as well. Once I have this done, it's time to start working with the petals to make sure that the petals are opened. As much as you open the petal, more volume the flower is going to achieve. Now you can fold one side of the petal, even to add more movement. So the flower is completely finished. Now it's time to start working with the leaves. I used the pre-color paste to do the leaves. Now it's very important the thickness of the paste. It needs to be thicker because now we need to put a wire in between. So if we stretch the paste too much, the wire is going to come out. This is a correct thickness, like 2 millimeters. Make your life easier and cut that. Now I'm going to cut a 26 gauge wire in 3 different parts. So now I'm going to put the wire in the paste, and to do it I will need a little bit of edible glue. I always remove the excess a little bit and put your fingers like this and poke the wire in between. You will feel that the wire is entering. So put around 1 centimeter. Now I am making the edges very thin, as I did before with the rose petals. Remember that the ball tool has to be half outside, half inside. Don't try to put too much pressure here exactly in the center where the wire is, because we need to keep that area completely safe. You can make it very thin and the paste is not breaking. So it's an amazing paste, and it's not deforming, so you are at the same time that you press and you smooth, the paste keeps the same shape, which is very important. And now it's time for the veiner. Remember that it's important to put a little bit of cornstarch, and let's add some pressure. Amazing. When you remove the leaf from the veiner, don't do this and don't do this, because a bad manipulation can generate that the wire comes out. So when you remove the leaf from the veiner, manipulate like this, making sure that you hold the leaf and the wire at the same time. Now I'm going to use a little bit of pillow foam to put the leaves on, and that foam gives me the chance to create the shape that I want, and it dries 360 at the same time. If you put them straight away on the table, for example, the surface that is touching the table, it's going to take longer time to dry. So with that technique, using that material, you make sure that you get a nicer shape and that dries much faster. So now I have finished the flowers and leaves, but now we need to wait a little bit. Once the paste dries, after 2-3 hours, I will explain to you how to paint them.